Careful with that garbage, Photon. There's radioactive crap in a couple of those.
I feel just like Wally. I'm environmentally friendly.
Okay, but you know Wall-E wasn't about the environment, right?
It wasn't? Well, what was it about?
Sounds like it's time to uncover the dark truth of Wall-E's true message. I'm Dr. M. This is my robot pal, Photon.
Hello.
Welcome to Upon Further Inspection. Wall-E is set in a future where Earth is a toxic wasteland. Humans have abandoned the planet, and Wall-E is a garbage-collecting robot left behind to clean up the mess. As he rolls past a graveyard of other Wall-E units, we realize he's the last survivor of his kind. Already pretty dark for a Pixar movie.
He reminds me of David watching movies in Prometheus. They both want to be more human, like me.
It's amazing how expressive Wall-E is for a robot. The director was inspired by a pair of binoculars to capture those soulful eyes. And he talks kinda like R2-D2, but easier to understand. His body language says a lot too. He takes off his treads at home like a person kicking off their shoes. He's lethargic and irritable when he's low on battery, kinda like a human in need of coffee. And when he goes to bed, he rocks himself to sleep. Gosh, that's actually a pretty sad image.
Poor Wally. He needs a friend.
He does have a little cockroach pal, the only animal life we see in this whole movie. Geez, you never see any animals in space either, so I don't think this story ended well for terrestrial wildlife. Good thing this little guy's indestructible.
Hey, wait a minute. Is this a Short Circuit reference? That part where Johnny Five crushes a grasshopper?
Jump!
Aw, that's great, okay.
I'm pretty sure it is. The resemblance between Johnny Five and Wall-E is uncanny, inspiring some pretty fun fan art. There's even a part where I swear the soundtrack in Wall-E sounds like something out of Short Circuit. Wall-E is a curious little guy. He loves collecting human trinkets and bringing treasures back to his storage container, including his most precious find, an actual living plant. Wall-E's lonely world gets a whole lot more interesting with the arrival of a slick new robot named Eve, who seems to be searching for something. He starts to follow her and watch from afar. Yikes!
Careful, Wally. Eve likes to shoot first and ask questions later.
Good thing he likes his ladies a little rowdy.
I can relate.
While Eve is frustrated, Wall-E scooches closer to introduce himself.
Name? Wally.
Wally.
Oh, he's got it bad if he melts just hearing her speak his name. Right, Photon? Right, Photon? Photon?
Yeah, he's pretty into her.
A sandstorm rolls in and Wall-E pulls Eve back to the safety of his hideout. It's the perfect excuse to show her all the neat trinkets he's collected. Hey, look at this, isn't this fun? It's the only one I have, but I'll share it with you. Look at this fragile thing. Hey, I didn't know it could do that. Here's my most precious possession. Ah, don't break it! This scene reminds me of being a kid and having a friend over to play for the first time. Sometimes you step on each other's toes while you're getting to know each other. Wall-E introduces Eve to dancing, but she doesn't know her own strength. He tries a different approach and ends up getting hurt for his trouble. Eve doesn't seem to care, but Wall-E fixes himself up without complaining. I like this portrayal of what love looks like. Even though Eve's been so careless the whole time, Wall-E still keeps sharing with her. He's been collecting these lighters for ages, but only she reveals their true potential. It's a cool symbol of how love can open your eyes to wonderful new things. Turns out Wall-E has exactly what Eve is looking for too. Her mission was to search the Earth for sustainable life, so she grabs his plant sample and hibernates until she can deliver it. Wall-E freaks out and does everything he can to wake her back up. Maybe she just needs some solar power to recharge. A little shelter from the rain? He even tries to jumpstart her with his own battery, but nothing works. Wally's depressed at the thought of going back to life alone. He has trouble getting excited about his daily routine when he's tasted something so much sweeter. Eve's ship abruptly blasts off to rejoin humanity, and Wally is desperate enough to fly into space just to follow her. They both end up on the Axiom, the interstellar cruise ship that humanity now calls home. People here are so well cared for, they don't have to do anything for themselves. Even think.
Try blue. It's the new red.
Ooh.
Life runs on rails, and the only problem is boredom. Everyone looks basically the same, even regardless of race or gender. Children are raised by propaganda-spewing robots instead of their own parents.
B is for by and large, your very best friend.
Nobody touches each other or looks at each other. The whole world is experienced through screens on the Axiom.
Ooh, interesting side note, an axiom's something that's assumed to be true without proof, either because it's self-evident, or in order to study the consequences.
Well, the consequences of this massive social experiment are clear. Humanity's been reduced to a bunch of simpletons flopping around like harbor seals when they fall out of their hover chairs. They've all been so dumbed down, the ship's captain doesn't even know how a book works.
Operate Manuel. Manuel? Relay instructions.
It's not a very flattering image of humans, is it, Dr. M?
Seriously, I remember being insulted when I saw this movie in theaters. What a crappy opinion of humanity. Surely our species wouldn't let ourselves devolve so far. We don't even see humans for half the movie, and when they finally show up, they're this embarrassing?
I'm sure our forefathers would be proud to know that 700 years later we'd be doing the exact same thing they were doing.
But this story was never about the humans. It was always about Eve and Wall-E. In early concepts for the script, it was actually a species of blob-like aliens instead of humans. So the humans are more of a background supporting cast. Kind of a reversal on the typical sci-fi where the robots are inconsequential and blend into the background. When this movie came out in theaters, it was widely praised and criticized for having strong environmental and anti-corporate themes. There's monolithic by and large branding everywhere on destroyed Earth and the Axiom, but watching the movie again, I don't really see anything especially bad or preachy about by and large itself. The Axiom is one huge corporate product, but it's not harming anyone. B&L is what keeps humanity safe and fed. It's up to the viewer to draw their own conclusion. Is this modern world paradise or hell? The Earth is buried in B&L litter, but isn't that the fault of everyday consumers? Couldn't we get off the crazy train of this weird society anytime we really wanted to?
This movie has an environmental message like Finding Nemo.
I didn't have a message. I was just going with logic to push the relationship of the story. What I wanted to do was have the last guy on Earth, the last little robot on Earth, and so everybody had to leave for some reason. And what's very gettable is litter. So I just went backwards from that and said, well, then why is there trash everywhere? And I just said, well, maybe we just bought too much.
That makes sense. I remember watching this movie in theaters expecting a strong social message, and there just wasn't one. It's not the kind of movie that's going to change your mind. You're going to feel the same about Walmart and pollution whether you watch this movie or not. There's some green, friendly-ish looking iconography, but the plant is just a basic plot MacGuffin. The movie never explains sustainability and offers no basic solution like recycling. When those themes never landed, I felt like the movie had failed, even if that's not the story Pixar meant to tell in the first place.
If it wasn't about the environment or consumerism, what was it about?
At the heart of Wall-E, it's a love story.
Yeah, and at the front of Wall-E. I mean, it's to me, that was the story. The rest of it is very much, even though it's a vast backdrop and goes over all over the place, it's really just to support this relationship between these two characters.
The film's central theme was intended to be irrational love can defeat anything, including programming, and that love really shines through. Wall-E is a genuinely loving guy. He puts himself at risk for Eve's sake again and again, offering his treasures, risking his safety to protect her, and venturing into a terrifying unknown just to stay near her. Eve, on the other hand, sees Wall-E as a nuisance and is pretty cold to him. It makes sense she's focused on her mission instead of relationships, but it does pour some ice water on this love story. In one scene, Eve tricks Wall-E into entering an escape pod just so she can blast him back to Earth and be rid of him. Dang! If you think about it, this scene is cold! But Wall-E forgives her. While most love stories emphasize romance or innate chemistry and grand gestures, Wall-E is about a quiet, everyday kind of love. It's a beautiful but subtle story to tell, one that fits quite well with the quiet, atmospheric first half, but kinda gets lost in the bombastic second half of this movie with the unlikable human characters. Some people saw a commentary on obesity in this movie, but I didn't really see it. Everyone is obese, but fatness is never equated to badness, unless that's a judgment the viewer's already bringing to the table. I mean, all of these people are about equal size and about equally attractive. Maybe this future society's developed a whole new concept of body image, I don't know.
But Doctor, you said you didn't like how humans are portrayed in this movie. Why not?
It's their apathy and helplessness that get under my skin.
Voice authorization required. Accepted.
Humans in this movie drift through life doing as little as possible, which prompts the question, how much is too much in terms of relying on technology? What if we set the bar so low that machines run our lives for us? Sounds great to have 100% leisure time, but you can never really succeed if there's never any struggle. There's no social discomfort, but there's also no intimacy in this world. How long before the bliss of, I don't have to think for myself, becomes the horror of, I can't think for myself, and we just don't care about anything? Upon further inspection, the terrifying truth about Wall-E isn't that we destroyed our home planet, it's that we don't even care that we did. We've entirely forgotten human history and culture. These guys are discovering music as a novel concept. We've killed every animal species, and our only response is bored complacency. I really wanted to see my fellow humans return to their homeworld, but the human characters themselves are totally apathetic about it. They've lost interest in their own immediate surroundings, let alone a toxic world they've all forgotten. A little help. Humanity doesn't care whether they return to Earth, so why do Wally and Eve care? Why should the audience care? There's really no stakes involved, and that's what weakens this movie, especially in the second half. It's like Wally and Eve are trying to return humans to our homeworld in spite of ourselves. But the humans are so disinterested in returning to Earth, I can't help but think it would be a bad thing if this mission succeeded. I mean, yes, I'd want to return to Earth and put in the hard work it would take to restore the world to normal. But do you think these guys are up to the task? They don't even want to walk, let alone suffer and sweat to reboot civilization. The captain is the only one who knows returning to Earth is a possibility. The rest of the human population is just in for a rude surprise. And even the captain just looks relieved when he thinks the return voyage has been cancelled.
I guess things go back to normal, huh?
Correct, Captain.
Well, false alarm.
It's not until much later that he finally concludes.
I don't want to survive. I want to live.
Personally, I love how technology makes my life more convenient. But this movie takes those concepts to the extreme, posing the question, how far is too far when it comes to coasting through life? In the slumbering nightmare of the axiom, everyone's either a consumer cog or an enforcer of the status quo. It's no coincidence the only likable characters are social deviants, the robots that are labeled broken for doing things wrong. Speaking of broken, I noticed that Wall-E's character doesn't arc in this movie. He's rusty and low-tech, but doesn't really have any character flaws. He's a sweet, hard-working guy throughout the story, eager to love and happy to help. Eve, however, does grow and change throughout the movie. She starts out selfish and goal-obsessed and doesn't seem to care about Wally's feelings. Or property damage. It's a cool role reversal on gender stereotypes, with Wall-E being the one interested in intimacy and relationships. Throughout the movie he reaches for Eve's hand, but she either pulls away or just doesn't seem to notice. Her eyes are finally opened when she sees a recording of all that Wally went through to protect her. He was helping her every step of the way and she barely takes the time to notice him, let alone thank him. Wait a minute. Wall-E is self-sacrificing and has no character flaws. A man named John knows about him before anyone else, and then he's allowed to pass into this world by a woman named Mary. Is Wall-E a Jesus metaphor? He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. Well, however you interpret Wall-E's goodness, he's got a lot of human heart for a little machine. He puts others first even when everyone else around him seems to have forgotten how. Even though he's a humble, unremarkable guy, he still makes a huge impact, changing lives and bringing more light into the world. And that's an inspiring message anyone can take away from this movie.
Yeah, I'm glad Wally stayed by Eve's side, even if she was slow to notice his love.
Yeah, truly selfless love is tough, but Wall-E leads by example.
Dr. M?
Photon?
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Oh yeah. I could totally go for a refill. Thanks, big guy.
My pleasure.
Upon further inspection, what did you think of Wall-E? Did you like this movie, or was it kind of a mixed bag? Any hidden details or themes we missed?
Join the discussion below. I want to hear what other people think too.
Join us next time as we discuss how Jim Henson's Muppet Babies was actually based on the Anne Frank diaries, and Photon learns a valuable lesson in safety.
I stick my in an electric socket.
We'll see you next time.